In terms of adopting to Cuba, it wasn't so hard because it was like, in my life, the first time that I've ever been in agreement with a government that I was in. It was the first time I've ever liked a president, I've ever listened to political speeches intently. It was the first time I've ever lived in a society that was at peace with itself. I mean, that I felt free to walk down the street. I, for the first time, could relax enough to realize the devastating effect of what 30-some years had meant to me growing up and living in a society that was totally hostile to me as a human being. It's been really a very healing experience for me, actually. Being a target by the FBI, et cetera, being in prison, all of those things are harmful things. Well, when I first came to Cuba, people were much more, or at least I felt that people were much more hesitant about dealing with the question of race relations. Not this last Congress, I think it was the third Congress, which happened shortly after I came here. That changed somewhat because Fidel talked about the fact that it was important to deal with race. It was important that the number of people who are in powerful positions should reflect the composition of the population. I believe that the government has and the party have a absolute commitment to eradicating racism. I also feel that in the special period, that has taken a back burner to survival. And now the key issue is for the revolution to survive. Many people that I have met here who have explained to me realities that I would have never understood about the third world and about what struggling in other conditions means. And it's so easy, we often think that our reality is the same as other people's, but that's a crazy way to look at other people's struggles. I think that we have to become much more sensitive to the objective conditions that other people are dealing with. Begin to respect the achievements, historical achievements of many people, then we will have learned a lot. And I think that it's very important that we focus on many of the things that we have not studied and have not delved into when we look for models of how to create a better society. And I also think that in this particular time, although it's far from being perfect, there's a real interest in dealing with Africa, Asia, and Latin America in a whole nother context in terms of studying the ideological input of African, Asians, and Latin Americans. I think that there is a kind of socialist kind of movement that is very young, I think, but that is moving up, that really wants to focus on a third world ideological position, that really wants to focus in on the history of Latin America, the history of Africa, the history of Asia in a much more profound way. What we call now Marxism-Leninism has been to recite rather than to analyze the words and the contribution of Marx and Lenin in a more broadening sense and constantly increasing the input of other thinkers, of other revolutionary experiences. There's no question that they made tremendous contributions, but I think that for Marxism, Leninism to become a universal revolutionary science, it must have a way to grow, a systematic way to grow, because if a science does not in fact grow, then it is stuck at the point of dogma.